Carmela, I got your note.
Welcome to Culture Screen, where we analyze culture. In this episode, we are summarizing the third episode from Season 6 of the Sopranos series titled Mayham. The episode first aired on March 26, 2006. In the beginning, Paulie gets a tip from Vito about an apartment he can burglarize. Vito tells Paulie that the apartment is empty during the day. Paulie heads over with one of his henchmen, and they run into a man who panics when he sees them, and they proceed to chase him down. The apartment belongs to a crew of Colombian dealers, and as they are chasing down the man, they head downstairs to the same room Paulie was looking for. The man tries to warn the people inside the room that a threat is heading right toward them, but Paulie and his associate manage to push their way through the door after threatening the man. As soon as Paulie pushes through the door with his associate, the man they ran down the hall is shot. A firefight begins between the two parties, and in the end, Paulie leaves with his associate after they stumble upon the cash they were looking for hidden inside the dishwasher. In another scene, we see Silvio speaking with his wife Gabriella. Silvio tells her that he never wanted to become the boss and instead chose the role of consigliere in order to counsel the boss and lead the family in that way. However, we see Silvio is actually struggling personally because he is currently the acting boss while Tony is hospitalized. Silvio's asthma has gotten worse, and this is a direct result of him having to make multiple decisions every day and knowing that those decisions will affect multiple facets of the family. Many of the problems Silvio is forced to solve do not have clear-cut solutions. Every decision also affects someone negatively, and this ends up taking a toll on Silvio, just like Tony explained to him. After listening about the robbery Paulie pulled on the dealers, Vito claims that he deserves some of the cash Paulie stole because he gave Paulie the lead. Silvio has to decide how the money should be divided, and he ends up becoming so stressed that he ends up having a massive asthma attack, and he ends up being hospitalized as well.
Acting boss, I hope that day would never come.
As we catch back up with Paulie and Vito, we see that they are seriously contemplating what will happen if Tony passes away. We see they do not pay the tribute they would otherwise pay to Tony to Carmela, as they should according to their rules as mafia members. Even though they do not pay the money owed to Tony to Carmela, Paulie and Vito are extremely afraid that Tony will wake up and that he will know they weren't paying their tribute to her. As they hold back their tribute from Carmela, Vito begins to visualize himself being the next boss. In another scene, Tony is still struggling to stay alive in the hospital. He is still having his coma dreams, and when we jump back into his dream, he is being sued by the monks. Tony tries to convince the monks that he is not Kevin Finnerty, but they insist that he will pay for what Kevin did to them regardless. This scene is a reminder that Tony's soul will be judged for what his personality on Earth did to others. Tony Soprano is a mafia member, and he commands many men who also hurt others he does not know. Those people Tony hurts are represented in the dream as the monks, who now are passing judgment on Tony for his actions. Tony feels like he is trapped and being made responsible for something that he did not do, and so he begins his search for the real Kevin Finnerty.
I have his briefcase, but I'm not him.
Remember, I am summarizing this entire series as well as other popular works of literature, movies, and TV shows as well. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next episode or series. Let me know what you'd like me to summarize in the comments section below. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Visit our merchandise store and support us on Patreon if you can. Doing this helps my channel out tremendously.
A little something from us.
Back in the real world, Christopher is still trying to get the money his AA meeting sponsor, JT Dolan, owes him. Chris ends up sending Benny Fazio to JT's writing class. Chris and his crew force JT into helping Chris write a movie script as a way of paying off the debt he owes Chris. Also, as a way of helping Chris, Little Carmine provides him some financial aid in order to help him write his script. All he asks is that Christopher write him in as a producer. While Little Carmine is willing to help Christopher, we see his fellow New Jersey crew members don't believe in Chris's vision or in helping him. This serves as additional evidence to Chris that the people he surrounds himself with, and who he considers brothers in crime, do not believe in him, nor in anyone else in their crew, and that they are all really out for what is in their own best interest. Back at the hospital, we see Paulie trying to speak to Tony. In the dream world, Tony hears an annoying voice coming from the neighboring room, representing Paulie speaking to him. As a result of Paulie speaking to Tony, we see Tony's vitals begin to rise and they shoot up, causing the hospital staff to run into Tony's room to save his life yet again. As we jump back into Tony's dream, he finally arrives at Kevin Finnerty's home. As soon as Tony arrives, he sees Tony Blundetto is the one who can allow him entry into Kevin's house. Blundetto tells Tony that he can enter the house of Finnerty, but he must first leave his briefcase with him. The briefcase represents Tony's identity in the real world. It is the baggage holding him from embarking into Finnerty's home. Passing through the door and into the house would mean that Tony will die. Blundetto tells him that everyone else is waiting for him, implying that the others inside of the home are former members of their crime family and past. Tony knows the home is hell, and he refuses to enter. He holds onto the briefcase, and he immediately wakes up in the hospital room. As soon as Tony wakes up, Paulie and Vito are shaken up and fear what Tony may do to them once he finds out that they have been withholding their tribute to Carmela. Vito is particularly concerned since he has spent a lot of his time trying to convince the other DiMeo crew members that they should see him as the next potential boss. Eventually, Paulie and Vito head over to Carmela and they pay what they owe her. They tell Carmela that they are giving her money to help Tony with some of his medical expenses. Carmela finds it odd that they paid her right after Tony woke up from his coma. As she sees them leaving in their elevator, she realizes that they were waiting to see if Tony would wake up to pay her. She understands that the only reason why they paid her anything at all was because of the great fear they have for Tony, not because of their love, respect, admiration, or honor for him. In the end, as Chris is speaking to Tony about his film idea, Tony reads an old Ojibwa saying from a card posted on his wall that reads, quote, "Sometimes I go about in pity for myself, and all the while a great wind carries me across the sky," end quote. After reading the quote, Tony is curious as to who placed it on the wall. That was episode number 68, titled Mayhem. To watch the next or previous episode summary, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. In the description, you will also find additional links for supporting our channel. I'll see you on the next one.
Some of you know I've had 9 pictures under my subspecies.
We upload new videos every week, so subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the like button as well. Click the notification bell to be notified of when we upload these videos. See you on the next episode of Culture Screen.